yeah, front row, 5 years old, just watched it with my head up like that the entire time.
Star
And
Wars figures. R2-D2. Chewbacca, Luke, and Princess Leia. They're the Star Wars Early Bird set of figures. These action figures are not yet available, but this Star Wars Early Bird certificate package is in stores with this colorful Star Wars picture display stand and certificate to send in to get a set of figures by mail. They'll be sent to you at home between February 1st and June 1st. The Star Wars Early Bird certificate package, new from Kenner.
Star Wars. It's great in the arcade. Whoa! TIE fighters! Fireballs! Coming right at me! Watch the laser towers. Aim for the tops. Pick on the cannons. Use the force. They're coming too fast! It's Ray! It's Ray! My shields are gone! All right! I'm going in!
Oh, some game, huh?
Some game!
In a galaxy of video games, there is only one Star Wars.
All right, folks, welcome. Star Wars Day is here. Hopefully you're having a good one. Hopefully you've enjoyed hanging out with me or another YouTuber. Angry Canadian will be game streaming all day today, so make sure you check out his channel as well. But with me, this guy, man, talk toys, action figures, things like that. Scuba Pete is in the house. How are you, my brother?
I am doing well. Thanks for having me on.
It's so much fun. So much fun.
I can talk Star Wars all day.
I bet. So obviously I celebrated on the 25th because that's the anniversary of the original film. Talk about, because you're about my age, we're pretty close enough to know, what is the OG film experience for Pete?
So the OG film experience is I'm 5 years old in Columbus, Ohio, and my folks take me and my little brother to go see this Star Wars movie, and it is so packed that we have to sit front row.
Whoa. Wow. Okay.
And to the side. So to little Pete, Darth Vader looks like he's like 8 stories tall. I mean, it's just like, oh my. So when he comes bursting through on the Tantive 4, it's just like, But immediately fell in love with this and saw it a couple other times. Thankful. I was thinking about that today. I was thankful that my folks were like, yep, we're taking them. Let's see what this Star Wars is all about. But yeah, front row, 5 years old, just watched it with my head up like that the entire time. And, I couldn't get a Star Wars stuff quick enough.
There wasn't a way, right? Because we talked about this on last year's Star Wars. The first day I did this sort of all-day thing was last year, and we talked about that throughout the day on and off again, is, folks, Star Wars is so ingrained in our culture, it's hard for people to understand that in 77 there was nothing. So for me, it was the novel, the record, the little, I have it back here, I'll pull it out. It's nice. There's like a child's book. I have that. It was the comic books and trading cards. Those were like the first flow of things over those first several months, and everything was like gold. I mean, do you remember like just the scurrying around for any of that stuff? Anything you could find?
Anything you could find. I mean, that record, with the storybook and the 45, that was, I wore that thing out. I had like a little Mickey Mouse record player in my room, and I would play that over and over and over. And flip the page every time R2, when you turn the page. But you're right. Like puzzles, anything. But trading cards. You're like, please, I've been good. Can we buy some, pack of trading cards at the grocery store?
And that refashioned Death Star game, which was just a bunch of little tokens moving around that we had. There was no real Star Wars element. It was just like a spool, and you're just moving little guy. And it was
spin.
I was thrilled. I was thrilled to have it.
You're like, I don't care. I love it.
Oh, boy. I've reached Millennium Falcon. The Force is with you.
You too can play the space fantasy Star Wars game, Escape from Death Star. Be the first to help Luke and Leia, Han Solo, and Chewbacca escape from the garbage dump and reach the safe Rebel base. The Force can also be against you.
Back to the trash compactor.
You spin to get past TIE fighters.
I win! All right!
Escape from Death Star. It comes complete with everything you see here. New from Kenner, from the Star Wars collection.
I think I had a couple puzzles, got those. But yeah, that was it. What action figures, that wasn't even a thing. In fact,
so I was going to ask you, the action figures came the following year, right? So so are you an early bird special guy?
I'm not an early bird special guy. I was, like at, let's see, it was Children's Palace, I think it was, was my first Star Wars figures. But in one of the like puzzles, I still have it. This is from childhood. Ugh. And it's advertising that figures are coming soon. Like there were none. This was just a tease. But you had the like coloring books and it was all, what can we make with paper, and get that out. The people are hungry for it. But I've always kept that like in my my dresser drawer, all through life. And the other day I was like, why do I not have this protected more? I've had it so long. And so yeah, I love it. Look-alike action figures available soon.
Yes, and little do we know it would be a year.
Right, yeah.
So what was that first like? Did you get much for that first? It was Christmas 78 for those of you at home. Don't Christmas 78. Toys are actually arriving by now. The Sears catalog is promoting things. Every kid is just like, "Oh my gosh,
Yeah,
what can I do to barter bag?" Yeah. Children were never better than the Christmas of 78.
Yeah. We're all walking around with little angel, I got the X-Wing and Luke Skywalker, and also the Land Speeder. Those were my first Star Wars toys. And with that came Princess Leia, Chewbacca. Han Solo was a little later on down the road. R2. Yep.
Okay. Yep.
But that was
I was the same way. I had an X-Wing and speeders were first.
Yep.
I don't know which figures came first. They probably around Christmas time. It was probably like, mom got me like 2, and like grandma and grandpa probably got me 2, and like what I mean. So like that's all you wanted was Star Wars stuff. There was no, I want a wagon or I want a BB gun or
Tinker Toys or
no. That was all. No, there was nothing else.
Nothing.
Sorry, Jaws. Sorry, Battlestar Galactica. Sorry, Superman 78. Like, we love you as a movie, but we were still only thinking about one thing first, and then everything else.
Everything was second and tertiary from there. You got those figures and you couldn't rip them off the card fast enough.
Yeah, and
I think that was such a turning point for toys, the fact that you had this blockbuster movie, and now little us's could reenact that movie with very lifelike to the character figures, and that was mind-blowing. I had Adventure People. I'm playing with those outside. I'm playing with those in the tub. I've got the Scuba Rescue set. So I mean, we had adventures that way, but to be able to recreate those scenes from the movie, awesome. I did it with I'm sure you had these too, like a brown blanket or green blanket, like that became your
backdrop
diorama. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I had a brown one, and that was Tatooine. Good times in the basement.
Oh, just anywhere, everywhere. I was always in trouble. Now this came later because obviously I remember having Boba Fett this way, but it came much later. Is I would be in trouble for putting them in the freezer, so they'd be in a block of ice that would have to be rescued from, or they would be in the dirt. We'd have so for those of you at home, we'll just try to, if I have to edit it, so I apologize, but here's one of the first commercials that inspired Pete and I to be like, we're gonna play with these babies.
The Luke Skywalker X-Wing pilot from the Star Wars action figures collection, each sold separately.
I'm Jabba. Want to buy a droid? Show me what you got.
It's R5-D4 and the power droid.
Sold.
And here's Greedo, Han Solo, and Walrus Man.
You've had it now, Solo. Yeah. Greedo, it's Ben Kenobi and his lightsaber. We're in trouble. Let's get out of here.
Luke Skywalker X-Wing pilot, R5-D4, Greedo, and other action figures sold separately from Kenner.
There you go, Pete. For you, baby. For you.
Right?
Yeah.
To be a Kenner kid, I mean, you were like, oh, how did they get in the commercial?
Yeah. So this is not mine. I actually got another one. This is like for some other kid who wrote their phone number in it. Eric Carson, 852, blah, blah, blah. I have your Star Wars book. You probably want it back. I don't know where mine ended up. It probably fell apart, quite literally.
Yep.
But this was one of the key things for me was the
so good.
Was the storybook. It's in great condition. I've had it for
Nice.
years. So, but yeah, this thing was just riddled, which is great. Great things. And
It's got
then
all the movie shots in there to jog your memory because we didn't have the internet.
do you still have some of your original figures?
Yes, I have
Okay.
actually all of them that I
Okay.
had as a kid. Yep, mom and dad did well and saved. We were just talking about that at dinner. I'm like, I've been collecting toys as an adult since about 2018. I got the itch again, and I'm like, thank you for saving our toys, because I know I have so many friends. Doesn't matter what line you're into, GI Joe, Star Wars, Motu, you know, there's inevitably somebody that's like, I went to college and it got thrown away or given to my nephew or cousin rather, that kind of thing, and never to be seen again.
Those were my sports cards.
Oh
yeah. Star Wars went with me, so I had those with me. So I thought we'd just show off a few of our.
Cool.
What do you have in arm's length?
No, I have a lot, but
all right, well, let's get started.
I am gonna show you. So one of the first play sets that I got was the Build-A-Droid set, and in that set, you could make an R2-D2 that had the middle leg. And to find that these days, he goes for a pretty penny. But it was just great. The Droid Factory, you could build all kinds of droids. But the fact that R2 was a part of that is fantastic. And so I still have that set. I still have the box. And this is my childhood R2.
As I said, I don't know which one came first. So all I can say is at the top of the box, hence the reason they're first, is no cape, no lightsaber, Ben Kenobi,
Nice.
and my small head Han Solo.
Very cool.
Yeah. And all of my toy, I've showed them many times. So these are the one. There's literally there's like extra stormtroopers that are all chewed on. There's all like a Darth Vader that doesn't have a head because of Empire Strikes Back. There's just any
childhood survivors.
The mind of a child.
Yes.
All right. Next.
We're gonna go from that 3-legged R2 that's hard to get to. We recently took a trip to England again, so that was our second trip. And while I was there, I went to a toy fair in Taunton, and I picked up a Yak Face, which was a European exclusive, thus completing my original 96 run. And I got them for an excellent price from the fellow who was running the show. So I hadn't been in the Taunton Toy Fair for more than about 30 seconds, and I saw him, in a box, and I'm like, can I open the glass? When you go to the shows, everything's in the good stuff's in the glass boxes, with the. Yep. And he's, by all means, and I'm like, ooh, and I'm like, how much? And he told me, and I'm like, yes, sir. And he said, thank you for not balking at the price. And I said, thank you for offering it for a great price. And he's like, I love that that was a good deal. And I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah, it's so tricky to not know what loose ones go for, because you'll go now, and most places, a lot of them are completely loose, or they're graded, or they're missing like Ben. Like Ben doesn't have a lightsaber, he doesn't have a cape, the paint's all chipped, so it's hard to. You really have to be immersed in it a little bit. Do you have advice for somebody looking for a loose toy? Like, how do you gauge what to do? Do you just have to shop in advance and maybe like create a small? I advise people to have a smaller shopping list for that kind of stuff, because it is complicated.
Yeah, you easily get overwhelmed with everything, assuming that you've got a local mom and pop brick and mortar toy shop that you can visit. You can quickly get distracted. So it does help to have kind of that list of stay focused. If I don't find that, then maybe I'm switching to something unexpected that I would love to have, but I was not prepared to even see that day. But the best advice I can say is definitely do your homework. Look at sold prices on eBay, not the list prices,
Right.
because you can put anything up for $1 bazillion, and if somebody pays it, okay.
Well, and just full, as a dude doing the eBay thing, it's impossible to keep repricing things. So when you have like well over like 1,000 to 2,000 items, like I do, I know I have stuff I know doesn't sell, especially with sports cards. It's like,
Mhm.
dude, you're going to have to make me an offer. I don't have time to constantly come up with the
Yep.
incredible cycles that go through it. It's fine. If it's a low ball price and I can't get there, don't get your feelings hurt if I have to say
Yeah.
no. But at the same time, know that you should always make offers, because you have a
Mhm.
guy like me who's like, "Why did I want this thing for $20? It's worth 10." Like, offering $10,
Yeah.
and he'll be like, "Why are they offering me 10?" You look and like, "Oh, it's been going for $10. I guess I got
Mhm.
to let it go at 10, or I'm just going to be stuck with it," which is sometimes the case. You get stuck.
Yeah.
So,
It
uh,
does happen.
yeah.
But yeah, you kind of, and there's whether you fall on which side of the fence for reproduction,
Yep.
weapons,
Yep.
capes. I've got I know what is original. I've got some Stan Solo droids. Um, I bought his vinyl cape that he was selling and put it back on my Jawa, because I indeed did have a vinyl cape Jawa.
Yeah. Me too.
Um, and that cape ripped rather rapidly.
Within days.
Yeah, and I firmly remember throwing it into the kitchen garbage, like, well, that's out of here.
Oh, I did. I had tape. I taped it. Poor Jawa had tape on for a while, and it was just like, you don't move his arms as much. And
Mm-hmm.
okay, what's up next? Let's keep going with Pete's, because we have time constraint. We got to keep Pete moving. I'm sure he's got a massive amount of stuff to go through, or at least give you guys a little dose of what is it?
Yeah.
There it is. There's one of them.
So this obviously is a X-wing. It's a battle damaged X-wing, but this is more interestingly a Palatoy X-wing from Great Britain. And things to notice on this, unlike the Kenner that had a nose that light up and made the little zzz, zzz sound, Palatoy just molded out where the light would go. And on the back, instead of a molded engine, that's a sticker.
Hmm.
And yeah, so absence of electronics, no button for the batteries, but a very cool variant.
So they
Which is
just did the electronics. There's no batteries in the back of it, or no, just a
mm-mm.
sticker. Does the R2, when you push the R2 head, it does expand the same way? It
Yep,
does.
same way. You got
Yeah. Okay.
there you go,
Okay.
attack foils.
All right. Cool.
But yeah, that's a slippery slope variance.
Well, you explain why it's like that, right? Because I mean, Kenner was up against the clock in over their head. There's a whole documentary or multiple documentaries that I've seen on this kind of thing. So the fact that there are variants in different parts of the world, it's like, well, listen, just okay, don't put the electronics in those. Send those to there, and I mean, you just do what you do.
Palatoy's like, we can do this, but yeah, let's not do the electronics. Let's make this,
Yeah, it's cheaper, faster. Yeah,
Yep.
and as a kid, whatever. Yeah, I don't know. Keep going, keep it moving. So.
I didn't get it because it's made out of cardboard, but up there also is a Palatoy Death Star.
Oh yeah.
So that's what British kids got. They didn't have the big plastic 3-story Death Star, which I have 2 of them there.
Oh,
yeah.
What do those sell for, Pete? What do those sell for today?
You know what? A boxed Death Star complete going for about $250.
That's not too bad, actually.
In the shops. Yeah.
That's not as bad as I thought it would be.
Yeah. If you shop around, I mean, like Lockdown, that was, they were 400-ish, but they've come down.
Yeah. Very cool. No, I didn't ever have one. And then as I got older, I was like, oh, okay. So
I never had it. The kid down the street had one, and it was. Did you paint the bottom of your feet of your figures with colored fingernail polish to tell them apart? No.
No.
That's what we did in our neighborhood.
So my grandparents, I don't think you ever talked about this. My grandparents owned an appliance business, and they had all these like cast off, like the carbon stuff, these extra receipt things, and they wouldn't
Yep.
use them anymore. They would be bad ones or whatever. So I had these tons of these notepads that I could write on. You just wrote on the back. They were blank on the back, right?
Yep.
So I would literally make lists in my pocket of what I took to Pete's house. Like I would know it was da 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 da. Da. I'm leaving with X. Is there a chance that some got swapped? Possibly, but doubtful. And you know as well as I do, we took this stuff so seriously. If
So
that Jawa's cape was ripped a certain way on just the left side, but not the right, you knew. And it's
knew.
sad to admit, 100% true.
And if you didn't come home with that, Han Solo or whatever, like you accidentally left it at your mate's place. Yeah, the moms were like, doot, 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 or I should say,
yeah, I was gonna say, get off the wall.
He left his Han Solo.
What did he do? I'll bring it right over. It was 100% how that went down.
Totally.
Can you, in your parenting time, do you have a story where you went through as much trouble as our parents did to get us stuff though? Because I'm thinking my kids didn't really ever ask for Tickle Me Elmo. I did do the gimmick thing. Like I'd call radio shows for some of those times, but our families went through with us with Star Wars, obviously Cabbage Patch Fever.
Yep.
I have a younger sister. Some of the video game stuff really for like my nephew and niece and things like that, because they were all about that kind of stuff. I'm thinking of my own kids. I'm like, man, my kids, y'all didn't get crap because I did not do any of that stuff for you guys. I did not. We did like the Black Friday stuff later on in life and stuff, but it wasn't like I was going to knock someone down for a PS5 or something. I'm just not. I just didn't get it. But our families, man, they figured out
they were
ways
in the
to get us this
trenches.
stuff, man. Yeah.
And not just your folks, like your grandpa and grandmas, your aunts and uncles,
your
aunt and uncle, that you loved. They were like, we got you and you're like, oh.
Well, they're the coolest aunts and uncles, right? So,
yeah.
All right, what you got next? He's got import stuff, guys. You're going to get import stuff. I got to get Salacious Rum on here.
There you go. So we were talking land speeders earlier. This is the Sonic controlled land speeder.
The remote control.
Clicker. Remote. Yeah. So you would get it, and it would swivel and change. But a little bit bigger than the standard land speeder that we all typically had. I didn't have this as a kid. I picked this up actually about 6-7 months ago. I ran into one finally that had the windshield, and so I got to upgrade. But that R2 remote, that's a tough find.
I don't think I've had that one ever. I don't know the last time I've seen. I think I saw that at a Star Wars Celebration once in a case, like you said, it's behind glass. But I don't think I've played with one or anything like that because I haven't seen an early birds. Well, so I remember calling my wife from the 2012 Star Wars Celebration. They had an early bird special, mint in the box. It was still sealed.
Oh.
At the time, 15 or 20 grand. It was exponent. It was insane for the time, 2012, right? And I remember calling her. You're not going to believe. I know you don't care. I know it's not your thing. I need to move. It's like imagine like if whatever you're into, if you were into cars, like you went up and it had a mint. No one ever drove this Mercedes. It has like 20 miles on it, or it's like that kind of thing for me. That's what I was seeing inside this case. And it was at the bottom of the case. Like it wasn't even like front and center.
Yeah, prominent.
No, and I got a feeling he thought, I don't want it to fall off the shelf. I don't want it. You know what I mean? In hindsight, I've analyzed that image in my mind because it's been scarred there. There was no photography, of course. They're like, no. Yeah, I taking a picture of this thing.
Yep. So. I mean that little tray that they came in is just like eggshell plastic. So
yeah.
Oof. Yeah. I have a Star Wars Celebration story, not near as good as that one. It was kind of so we got to go to Celebration in London last year. So our first trip to the UK, and that's how we kind of capped off our trip was doing that. And of course I'm toy hunting, That's where I found the Palatoy Death Star. But there was this one vendor, and they had a massive booth, and everything was top of the line. I mean, graded, hard to find, super minty. I know we throw that word around, minty, all the time, but just immaculate stuff. PBP, POC, all these other global manufacturers that did the Star Wars toys for their particular countries, France, Spain, Italy, all those variants are worth even more than, hey, I got a Kenner, R2 on card. Cool. But with his booth, he had an unused mail away certificate for the early bird.
Very
and it
cool.
was 1,500 pounds.
Yeah.
It got stolen.
At the show?
At the show, there was a ring of thieves, and they all simultaneously hit different vendors, got those big ticket, and that early bird, I remember it was right up front, but they had surveillance cameras at this booth, and even a monitor showing you like you're being recorded.
Yeah.
And so there was London police like all over the place, but it came out that it was a well-coordinated, all within these couple of minutes, boom, hit, gone, evaporated.
Wow. Ocean's 15, the attack on Star Wars, man. I tell you what, that's ooh, because the nerds, that's like a you don't steal amongst us, man, because usually the vendors are nerds like us. We don't do that. That's not a cool.
Never.
That is,
we were talking about, what do you do when you buy, like when I picked up this guy out of the case, right? What's the like kind of my buyer's etiquette at a show or a store? I if I'm allowed to hold it, some places you're not, but if I am, I've always got it out here, just kind of and it just has become a thing with me, because I don't want that seller to be worried like, oh God, he hasn't paid me for that yak face yet. Did he just put that in his pocket? That kind of thing. So I'm always up front, above board. I want to make that seller at ease that I'm not a thief or trying to abscond with something super cool and rare.
That's awesome. Well, folks, make sure you're leaving comments. Make sure you're checking out Pete's channel. All those links are in the description. Just great stuff. Pete, let's get back to it, man. What do you got next?
Okay. So the other day, literally last Friday, I stopped into a friend's toy shop up in Middle Indiana, and he had just bought a Star Wars collection, and he hadn't even priced it, but it was laying all out on the glass counter, and I'm like, is this for sale? And he was like, it is. And I'm like, woohoo! So there's an original Kenner 12-inch Luke Skywalker,
white boots and all,
and the paint on his noggin is great shape, but I couldn't pass it up. And with Luke, like I say, he wasn't complete, but again, the price reflected it. With him was this fantastic R2. I mean, the chrome on the dome is crazy good. And so I'm gonna upgrade my R2 that I did have. He's up on the shelf. This isn't the remote controlled one. This is the one that just had the Death Star plans, in the back that you could pull out. And I have those plans in the other R2. So that was a great find and a super low price, honestly.
Oh, it's such a great. It's so rewarding. I don't know. I can never keep track if it's the epinephrine or the dopamine that hits our brains where we just get off. I don't know which one it is.
Yes.
All right. What's next?
What next? I have this is a gift from Matt Zero Hunter Toys. That's his YouTube channel, but he gifted me this Return of the Jedi annual, because in England they would get annuals, so hardcover, and he gave this to me at the NEC, but inside you've got cartoon storyline going on. But they were quite surprised to learn that in the US, we didn't have annuals for Mask, Star Wars, Action Force, you name it. But they did over there. So I ended up picking up quite a few of these. I picked up a Saint annual, if you like a little Roger Moore in your life, and I do. But this was a lovely gift from him at the toy show at the NEC. So, yeah.
That's super, super cool. Yeah, I was going to probably by the time we're doing the actual live Star Wars Day, I'm probably going to try to figure out where I can put them up, put the figures up. Because none of the kids. So my younger of the two sons got my Star Wars cards. So all the blue cards, the red cards, orange cards, hundreds of the cards, just random cards. Yeah. But no one's asked. I don't know that we've had a decision of which, because I mean it's all of them. It's everyone that I had when I was little. It's just they're all there.
That's
And
one of my faves.
Like even to this point, right? Even to the point where there's no sticker left. There's nothing. It's just a mess, right? He's just
well loved.
He's been in the bathtub. He's been, he's just a mess. Yeah.
Well, he was such an easy figure. I mean, just to slip it in your pocket. You can get maybe take him to school with you.
Yeah. So, all right, what do you got next? You're just killing us out here. Loving this.
All right. I don't own many carded figures. I'm mainly a loose collector, but I couldn't pass up this Endor Luke. So this is Power of the Force. So we're in 1985. Return of the Jedi's happened, and they're starting to put coins on with the figures on card. And I remember as a kid, by 85, I was so G.I. Joe. Star Wars sadly had been put in the box and left behind. I remember seeing on the Star Wars aisle, like, oh, they come with coins now? Weird, and then on my way to the G.I. Joe aisle. But again, a friend had this at the show and a super, super good price in it. So it's even neater that I purchased that from him, because he's like, that's actually mine. We're sharing a booth with his buddy, and I'm like, I would like to buy that.
What are your thoughts on grading figures? Do you have
I don't like it. I think it's way too subjective.
Okay.
I feel like comic book grading, somehow that feels right, feels okay, but the whole no, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, with comic books, we've always had grading. Like I always talk about, like Overstreet price guides, and there's like these massive paragraphs of what everything is, especially from the lower down. I can say I do get the argument on comic books from like the near mint categories, like itemized, right? 9.2, 4, 6, 8, whatever. So I get it. You're talking about one stress mark versus the little edge versus, what's the difference between a 6 and an 8, or an 8 now is 9.8, 9.9. Okay. Yeah, you could get in a certain subjective standard, but they kind of define their standard. And if you do it for very long, you quickly figure out. Like I one of my first submissions, I bought this. It was a perfect copy, except for 2 stress marks. Knew exactly what the issue was going to be. Came back in 9.4. I'm like, okay, that's what the standard is for a 9.4 going forward. Had sent another one with a very similar. Came back in 9.4. I'm like, I now understand where some of the delineations are.
Yeah.
I tried to read and understand action figures, and I just can't get my head around some of the categories. I just can't. I don't know what I'm missing, and I'm not going to try to throw anyone under the bus if that's their thing, but it can't click for me, and I don't know why.
Yeah, I own one graded figure, and that was again purchased from a friend who needed to liquidate his collection, and he was like, I'm selling this, my figures, anything you're interested in. And I'm like, you're making me nauseous. Can we talk like in a couple days? Like, I feel like, are you sure this is something like, let's give it a week and then we'll talk. And so the graded R2 is what I purchased from him. So that is my only graded figure. But I've got a good friend, Andy from Holo Chronicles, and he has nothing but heartache sending figures off to be graded.
Hmm.
And we're talking like they got graded and then proceeded to be eaten by UPS.
Mm-hmm.
Like they tracked him all the way. And we're talking a double telescoping Luke
Oh,
and
dear
a
Lord.
vinyl cape Jawa.
Wow.
They passed, graded, sent, tracking. They land in the state. Well, we don't know, we don't have them. So that took, I think, 6 months to sort out, and just watching him go through the range of emotions that we all would,
Sure.
And he's like, okay, a year later, he's like, all right. He and a friend bought a mega collection, Star Wars collection, out of Chicago, and I think it was a carded droid Boba Fett. So from the droids line,
Cartoon. Yep.
yeah, cartoon. It got rejected because they said there was a paint touch up, which was microscopic on the card, and so therefore it was adulterated, and we don't grade things like that. So sorry. And he kind of had this was it Provenance?
Mm-hmm.
From the seller. They collected these as kids and just stuck them away. They didn't, and he's looked at it. He's like, I can't see where this is some other wacky color of, why somebody would take a tiny and,
Right.
They went to the storage unit and looked at a lot of the stuff. He's like, it just, so because of Andy, I'm even more like grading. Nah, no way.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, what's up next, Pete?
Up next is something silly and Yub Nub in the tub. It's Ewok shampoo. There's no shampoo in there now, but yeah, from Return of the Jedi, you could purchase several different figures and get your shampoo for your bubble bath time. But yeah, you just snap the little Ewok's head off for a little bath time fun.
We grew up with molded shampoo bottles. Like it was a, the Mr. Bubbles thing.
Yeah,
They were
Mr. Bubbles.
They're all like molded. By the time I had kids, they were just like standard things. Like the molding thing was just so less common. I'm like, I mean, I don't understand why that gimmick went away, but I guess it wasn't profitable for them to make the molds and stuff. But yeah, there definitely got to be some Star Wars molds out there for sure.
We were so lucky in the 80s to have, and maybe it's that Reagan deregulation where it was just open season.
Yeah.
On do advertising. Do whatever you want.
They burst into flames. Whatever.
Whatever.
Right. Those kids didn't need to vote. We're okay.
Oh, Mr. Bubbles. Good times.
Yeah. It's good.
All right. I have my last, but I saved. This is paper from Sears. I have the freeze chamber playset that they did, and this is, like I said, this is just flimsy cardboard. I purchased this from Billy Galaxy at Star Wars Celebration last year. Mind you, Billy Galaxy's from America, so he's like, you've come all the way to England to buy something that you could find in the States. And I'm like, but it's hard to find in the States. And again, the price was right that Billy had on this. So it's not 100% complete, but it does have several of the pegs for posing your action figures, and then a few are still missing. But this was, as you know, Empire Strikes Back, we never got a Cloud City playset proper. This was as close as you got.
Yeah, that's good stuff. That's good stuff. I'll be doing some show and tell all day long. This video I know is early in the day, so feel free to check back. There'll be a playlist in the description, so you make sure you can earmark everything. And I'll put the playlist in for last year in case you're like, this has been a lot of fun. I want to watch all these things on 1.5 to 2 speed because it'll catch yourself up. So I think it turned into almost 16 hours of content last year, Pete, between live streaming, recording, that kind of thing. So it was a lot of fun. Once a year kind of thing. I don't think 2024 will be quite as much, but I will tell you, it's a blast to do this, and I'm hopefully encouraging all of you to do the same. Just own the
Yeah.
things that's positive about all this. And so I put it over here just so I wouldn't forget to show it off. One of the many magazines. This is a People magazine from June 9th of 1980.
Oh,
yeah. Absolutely incredible condition. Does not have a mailing sticker. Does not have the residue of being that.
By people, you will.
Yes, and not a gradable version or anything like that because it's got like a ton of mess on the back. It's all messed up on the back. But as far as display purposes
that's
goes,
fantastic.
yeah, it's awesome. So there he is. So yeah, it's one of the magazines. I have a Mad magazine to show later. I have all sorts of that kind of fun stuff, that kind of thing. So I thought I'd show that. And then people will see them in the background. So if you haven't asked, there's a set of these. These are from the new sequel trilogy. There's my TIE Fighter.
Oh, yeah.
The Star Destroyer is back there. They are speakers. They will Bluetooth.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, they are Bluetooth, part of the home line. And my mother-in-law got them for me as a present. And I'm like, well, listen, that's freaking cool.
Yeah. The Imperial March never sounded so good being belted out by an X-Wing.
What I always liked about the TIE Fighter especially is it's made to be tilted.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't tilt it that way. It's made to be.
Yeah.
It's made
Coming
to be tilted. Yeah. So I love that. Yeah. So
cool.
I would show a couple of. Yeah. So yes, I am not. I'm not without. I don't know, an eclectic style of stuff as well. So that's good. That's good. So, what was it like seeing? Because by the time, like you said before, you said in the 80s. By the time you saw 85, well, yeah, about 85 or so, Return of the Jedi stuff was on the decline. Droids and things like that hadn't reignited new interest or anything like that and stuff, or there wasn't any new thing really taking off, and we kind of had a decade of just pretty much nothing.
Mm-hmm. The dark.
When did you start getting back into it in the 90s? And if so, what kind of brought you back into it at all during the 90s?
I didn't in the 90s. But what brought me back were the prequels and my daughter. And so I started to collect a few figures here and there. Not like I was, oh my gosh, I'm going to, because I have friends that were like, oh, we bought everything,
Right.
Toys R Us, midnight,
Yep.
First time that this Phantom Menace is for sale, and just, this is going to be great, and as you know, those are not worth as much as original, but they're kind of on the uptick.
But there's always like some rarity oddities in there, though, right? Because I mean, even the stuff we're talking about, there is a lot of the stuff that we're talking about, folks, especially loose figures, $10. I mean, there's stuff you can find, no gun, and you can go on places like eBay or whatever, and you can just find a blaster. You can just find, it's okay. Now it's going to be hard to find the lightsabers to put in Ben. It's going to be next to impossible to find a cape. The cape's going to be as expensive as finding the loose figure. So, but there are things, like what Pete has shown has been more of some of the exotic and expensive things are rare, hard to find. They're the same with the prequels. I think there's a lot of stuff that was affordable, but there's also a few sneaky things in there that you're like, oh, I didn't know that even existed. Yep, exactly. That's why it's worth so much money. Because
I tell you what, honest, for the 95 Power of the Force 2 run, I bought the collection of a friend of mine that they went and bought everything Power of the Force 2. Mainly all the vehicles, some of the figures, but all the vehicles, and they all just stayed boxed and then got put in a cardboard box. Their kiddo grew up, joined the Navy, is now stationed overseas, starting his own family. And he was like, I don't want that stuff. I enjoyed it when I was younger, but I don't want it. And so they were like, would you be interested? And I'm like, yes. So that is a great way, Power of the Force 2, to pick up a Millennium Falcon or a Slave One, an X-Wing at a much cheaper price than the original Kenner. But you still, like, I have them hung out in the other room, in kind of like a big battle scene.
Yeah.
They're great, but very economical for if you're like, oh, I got to scratch that itch. I wish I had a Millennium Falcon. It's
Yeah.
like, pick up a Power of the Force 2 one.
And I have to be honest, a lot of stuff that's come out since the sequels, I actually have mint in the box shipped right over there. I have a drawer in the closet full of just, 3 action figures in a box and 3, they ended
Yep.
up on clearance. This didn't sell,
Yeah.
all right, well, but you know what? When the grandkids want those, they want to let's let them have the experience. I'll videotape it for you people at home. I promise. Let's bust it out open. Let's get them into, that kind of thing. Because I want them to have as much of that experience. That's why I wanted to have a day like this, Pete. We could walk people through some of the stuff we love, why those experiences. Because one of the things I got last year that when I really did this kind of hardcore was so many people didn't even know, right? Because there was like, there's a year gap in toys. What was the introduction of Boba Fett in the holiday special? It was just, there were so many things that, how would you know? Yeah. How would you know? Is there a other memory or anything like that that you can kind of hang your hat on as one that's sort of like something you cherish and you're just grateful that it happened?
Grateful that it happened. That would be mail away Boba Fett.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember checking the mailbox every day, obviously from the moment that you mailed off with the proof of purchases and the couple of dollars that you put and sent that to Cincinnati. I remember checking the mailbox like every day, is it here? Is it here? Like Ralphie with the decoder ring,
Yep.
Skunked again. But I still have that Boba Fett. He is prominently displayed with a vintage Slave One. So I have him. I didn't keep the box. That wasn't a thing. It was rip them open and, now you had both, and you could put those. Oh yeah. But hey, I played with my toys.
Yeah, me too. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what survived in the box from my childhood because very little survived, other than this box of figures from my childhood. There was not a lot that survived. So, but all right, that's great. Well, folks, like I said, check out the playlist, check out Pete's channel, that kind of thing. As always, we'll plug in some commercials and other little things to tease you throughout the day. Yes, that's a day of content. What can I say? Have fun out there, folks. Enjoy Star Wars. Enjoy the things. Share the stories. Feel free to message me, tag me back, hit us up. Let us know those kinds of things because that's what makes this kind of a fun day, that we can just honor where it all started and how much we loved it. And Pete, it's been such a blessing having you with me, brother, doing all that.
Thanks for having me back. I loved it.
Awesome. Well, thanks for watching, everybody. And if you're enjoying your Star Wars day, I hope you'll stick with us. At 1 p.m. Eastern Time, noon Central, we'll be back for an open mic live stream with my co-host, a common idiot. Matt has been a longtime subscriber and supporter of me. I'm a big fan of his work over there. So we're going to hang out with an open mic time. We're going to share some stories, going to see things in the theater again, maybe doing some show and tell, opening things up with you guys as well to give you an opportunity to kind of like interact with us. So make sure you stay tuned for that. Keep an eye out for that. Then at 4:30 Eastern Time, 3:30 Central, Left Eye Ego will be with me talking kind of from a new perspective. So as a guy that is not a huge Star Wars fan, like what has worked for him? How did he find it? Those kinds of things. So make sure you check that out. And that will lead right into the 25th anniversary, the Phantom Menace review reaction video with a great panel that'll be here. Mags will be here. That's right. Mags will be here. The VacTube, Daryl and Arlena are set to be here, and Arwen Avalon. And listen, the folks out there in chat, you guys are welcome to tell us about Phantom Menace, your thoughts. Can you believe it's been 25 years? So we'll be doing that to close out my Star Wars day, but I'll be looking to hear and see more of what you guys got going on. Stay tuned, everybody. Take care. I am Pops.
Burger Chef introduces Star Wars Fun Meals for your kids. A hamburger, french fries, and Coca-Cola. Imagine how much fun your kids will have. Star Wars Fun Meals. Collect all 7. Only at Burger Chef.
Here's the new Star Wars Death Star space station that you put together. Action figures each sold separately.
Darth Vader's firing a laser cannon. It's been hit. He's after Luke. Take the elevator. Hurry. Now across the light bridge. You won't escape me. Jump, Luke. Oh, no. The trash compactor. There's a trash monster. The wall's closing. Saved.
Kenner's new Star Wars Death Star Space Station. Action figures each sold separately.
It's Star Wars radio-controlled R2-D2. 2 9-volt and 2 C alkaline batteries not included. You can make R2-D2 move, beep, and flash his light by wireless radio control.
Hey, let me try it.
You can make R2 move forward,
Look out, Dad.
backward, turn and beep.
Hurry, turn, Dad.
Radio-controlled R2-D2 from the Star Wars collection by Kenner.